Hello and welcome to the Rock Your Voice podcast. Vocal coaching tips that will transform your voice, interviews that will inspire, industry guidance, and so much more. Without further ado, let's get on with the show. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. What I always like to do is kind of start from the beginning and find out a little bit about my guest's kind of musical background and where it all began and how you got into music and where it all first started. So how did music become your thing? Do you remember when you first fell in love with music?
Sure. Yeah. Well, growing up as a kid, it's just something that came very natural to me. I loved performing. I had 3 brothers. And so, anytime my parents would have a get together or anything like that, we always wanted to be kind of the center of attention and put on our little shows for everybody. Aww. So singing and dancing, I absolutely loved it. I think I really started singing in the church. I got involved with, a children's choir and eventually, adult choir and everything. And, but that's really where I had my first experiences, singing a solo in church. I started taking voice lessons, I think when I was probably around 7 or 8 years old. And my mom would take me around and have me do various talent shows and pageants and things like that. And I just loved it. I loved it so much. And by the end of middle school, I was on the TV show Ed McMahon's Star Search.
Cool.
And after that, getting into high school and college, I really started taking it seriously, started getting a lot of training under my belt and just getting involved in as many things as I possibly could. I said yes to everything.
Love it.
Yeah. And I was kind of simultaneously classically training, but at the same time in my real life, I was always singing contemporary pop styles of music, always. And so while I loved my classical roots and upbringing and everything, my life completely went in a different direction musically.
For sure. Did you find though that the classical background has helped with the commercial and contemporary kind of stuff?
Yeah, it really has. I can definitely, I feel I'm a very feeling singer, and that's really how I coach too, is just kind of gaining that body awareness and learning what those sensations are and how to articulate those. And I know that those come directly from the training that I took. And I'm so grateful because I do really feel like I have a deep awareness, to my instrument, and that helps me tremendously. I know that, there's a lot of talk in our industry saying that, you've just got to have that classical training to begin with. And I don't necessarily believe that that's true. Yeah. I think that we can get to that path, without the classical training. But, I cherish that time, and I love the fact that, I got to learn so much about that style of music, and wouldn't change a thing about that.
Awesome. Do you ever revisit it? Do you ever belt out some classical music?
Never. No. In fact, I really only remember fragments of one of my pieces, which was Mimi from La Boheme, and that's about it.
The technique remains. The songs have since passed on.
Yes, they have.
Awesome. So the switch to the more commercial, contemporary kind of stuff. What happened there then?
Well, I think that happened because of my involvement in church music. Right. This was in the 90s and early 2000s when contemporary Christian music was, really becoming a big thing. And you started seeing these, artists in that vein of music become big stars, and so it was borderline mainstream music. Yeah. And my family was just so involved in that world that I really wanted to emulate, what I was hearing with these artists, and I had the platform, I had the churches, to sing at. And so I think that really steered me in that direction musically, and all the way up until the church that I had become part of their worship team here in San Diego. Oh God, a good 25 years ago now. And that's really kind of where I found my family and my home.
Nice.
And fast forward to today, that same band that I grew up with are now my bandmates that I work with full time. And we're
so
we're still all
awesome.
together, and we're not at church anymore, but but we're still, full time making music together, and we're a solid family.
That's so cool. That speaks volumes about that kind of coming up together as musicians. That's so cool. So cool. I have like this weird satirical kind of Pitch Perfect type movie plotting in my head right now. And like, I was going to ask, is the church music sort of circle, is it a bit competitive, or is everyone very kind and supportive? I'm kind of seeing this strange movie where it's like all very, very competitive to be in the church band kind of thing.
You know what? Without going too much into it, it's an interesting world. And I feel as though there have been some pretty big shifts in the past couple of years, just with church in general.
Right.
But, it has become, it's structured and its mission are quite different from what I experienced at a young age growing up. I was looking at that whole experience through a completely different lens at the time. And so now, just my opinion, I do find it to be very business driven, and in a lot of churches you're seeing purely professional musicians on stage rather than volunteer congregational members and stuff like that. So, it's a bit more of that production and performance value. And I don't want to generalize and say that that's, across the board. It's really not. But, I've since moved away from it and participate just a bit more like freelance. And, we'll visit some of the churches from time to time, and I've directed music at the churches and everything. But yeah, it's an interesting environment. I think it's a lot more professionally minded nowadays than it ever has been in the past.
Fascinating. It really fascinates me, because growing up in England, from my experience, that kind of music circuit was not happening in the church. It was all still very old school church, like hymns, literally. And then when I came here, and it was like, oh my word, this is cool. Things might have been different if I'd have been growing up here, but no, really, really cool. So you then kind of crossed over into your commercial side of things, and since then you've developed this whole platform of where you're actually really helping other professionals and other singers and other musicians. And I first learned about you from it was last year. It was the Singer Summit, right? What was
the Pandemic Proof Singer Summit.
That was it. And honestly, it came at the best time. It was incredibly informative, and it was just amazing to see all of those different people. First of all, how on earth did you get such an incredible roster of guests? It was just phenomenal.
Well, I think it's from my own experience now, because really, my primary profession is, I'm a professional vocalist. I work full time with a corporate show band called the Mighty Untouchables. These are the guys that I, met and grew up with in the church. And we've been a band for close to 14 years now. And I'd gone through, I pursued the indie artist life and was pursuing original music. But we were just incredibly fortunate that this band really took off, and it became a full-time a job for us. And so, none of us have day jobs or anything like that anymore. It's just, we do this full time, and we've been, blessed with this just extremely successful group. And so, that lends itself to gaining so much just career lessons. And then also, it expanded my network tremendously because it's, you ultimately end up branching out and doing a lot of freelance work, here and there with various groups and artists and everything. So, fast forward to the pandemic happening, 2020, we're like seriously rocking and rolling. It should have been like a record breaking year for us. And then, everything came to a screeching halt like it did for everybody. And I found myself with a ton of time off. And I actually was a little bit grateful for it at the moment because it kind of, it was a needed slowdown of life. But but I very quickly became very bored and restless. And so I just wanted a little creative outlet, to fill my time with, I guess. And I'm not even sure where the idea came from, but I started a little live interview series weekly, and I would just invite my professional colleagues, other professional singers on, friends, and we would just kind of chat about what was going on in our lives and how all of this was impacting us, and the different things that we were adapting in our lives to just make things work and make ends meet, and just, I don't know, save ourselves from what was going on, and kind of trying to help each other, encourage each other for the future. And so that just, it became such a positive source in my life. And I could just see what was happening in the community of singers, where you'd have some of us who were doing well and really trying to branch out and find other things we could do, recording from home, things like that, learn, just improving our crafts and doing what we could. And then there were others of us that were just hurting really badly, to the degree where so many were thinking, well, I'm out, I'm tapping out, and I'm gonna go learn to do something else and call it a day on the whole music career. And that was just crushing. It was heartbreaking, to see people losing their homes and apartments and cars and just struggling to survive. And I thought, well, there are solutions out there. I think, once we get comfortable with one particular stream of income of what we're doing, we don't recognize how important it is to have, multiple channels of income. And so I thought, well, maybe I can just pull together, this group of people who represent all of those various different channels of the business, and just put everything on the table and let singers see all of those avenues that are available to you that you might not have otherwise thought of. And so I just kind of started putting my feelers out there to, influencers and other kind of leaders in this business that I knew, that I thought were great representatives of all of these different facets. And I think I lucked out because we were in the pandemic at the time, and everyone said yes. To my shock and all.
I love it. That's so awesome. So let's talk about that, because that is something obviously that you're passionate about, it's so important. I just vividly remember the day my class graduated music school back in London, and literally the teacher was kind of laughing about it, but also ready to break our hearts by just saying, if you all assumed that on graduation day you'd walk out of here and be rock stars, he's like, hate to break it to you, but today is the day you go and get real jobs, and music becomes kind of your hobby unless you've got serious savings in the bank, kind of thing. I was ridiculously fortunate because that day they hired me on as a teacher, and teaching was not on my radar. I was one of the ones who wanted to walk out as a rock star, but clearly that wasn't happening that day. And I was like, well, why not? I've just learned all of these skills, and I'm happy to share them with other people who are like me. And Yeah, so that opened the door to the teaching side of things for me, but there's so many other streams, and musicians need to know this, because I'm working with a lot of clients who are just like, you know, I'm stuck in this day job and I really want to commit to my music. I'm like, well, you don't necessarily have to have a smash hit to be able to quit your day job. There are other ways around this. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you. So where does one start? What are the streams? How do we do that? How do we
Yeah. Well, I like that you pointed out how your program ended up for you, and yes, getting that news at the end of it of like, oh, by the way, you're probably not going to make a lot of money doing this, FYI, you know, after you've invested your heart and soul into your degree.
How many years and all of this money? Okay, that should have been in the info session 3 years ago.
Truly. And it's really unfortunate, because I really think that this is a false narrative that has been drilled into our brains forever. And it's this picture of the life of an artist that has been, you know, put in front of us, while it's very, you know, people really admire people who, you know, pursue their passions and arts and everything, but at the same time side eye them that, well, you know, what's your real job? You know, what do you really do for a living? Right. And that is just not true. And there's, fortunately, you know, a good handful of us that have broken to the other side of this business to discover that this is a booming and thriving industry. It's constantly changing. The landscape is constantly changing. And I believe now, today, more than ever, the opportunity is enormous and so accessible to anybody who wants to get into this business. So I think we all kind of grow up with that picture of the music business being, okay, I love singing, I need to get a record deal, I need to become famous. And that's it, you know, or I need to get on American Idol, I need to win and then be, you know, huge, or, you know, I need a video to go viral, something like that. But when you really see the whole picture, you see that there are just endless streams of income that you can get involved with. And the more you can get involved with, the better. You know, I mean, not getting crazy about it, but once you kind of step onto that other side of that lens, you'll see that you have worlds of songwriting, sync licensing, teaching, session work, you know, live events, working for various, you know, I don't know, parks, venues. There's professional choirs, touring, you know, background vocalists, corporate show work, small ensemble work, wedding industry work. There's just so many amazing things out there. And I think it's really important that singers get a look at all of these things, because the starving artist mentality it's a false narrative. And I'm afraid to say that if singers walk into this business thinking, well, you know, I'm not going to make a lot of money doing this, but I'm going to do it because I love it. That is probably how things are going to end up for you. But if you walk into it, knowing and being empowered with the knowledge that this is a real business, music really can be your job, then you're on, you know, you're really setting yourself up for success there. Because in my opinion, you should walk into this business expecting to be able to make a living at doing it. And it's not easy, but it is, it is real.
So it's one of those things. It's like, it's basically a self-employment. You've got to be ready to ride that roller coaster of like, the gigs are there, the jobs are there, everything's flowing along great. There's highs and there's lows. There's things that, you know, you're not collecting a guaranteed paycheck of the same amount every single month. You've got to be ready to, you know, go with the flow a little bit, but at the same time, like, it takes a certain personality to be ready for it, I think. And then once you are ready for it, the adventure begins, and it's so much fun.
Yeah, that's so true. It really is. It's that certain someone who kind of has that entrepreneurial spirit, and is kind of willing to set their life up like that. But it's really about treating it like it's a business.
Yes.
The thought process of, well, I'm going to go on a few auditions and see if some opportunities fall my way. That's fine.
Yeah.
If you kind of want to play at that level, but if you want it to be a living, you have to treat it like a business. You have to do all of the adulting businessy things on a daily basis, and have office time, have practice time, have, investing your, time and capital into certain things, in learning those sides of the business. And I think, there are still so many people who think that is selling out, as an artist. But I think if you really look behind the curtain of the life of successful artists that you really admire, you will see that they have a business running behind them.
Yeah,
despite any appearances. Somebody's doing the bookkeeping, somebody's updating the website and the press kit, all those things are getting done. So it's a business.
Oh my gosh, it really is, with so many moving parts, Because, and that's the other thing that's fun. And then I think is all about the type of personality. Is like, there are businesses that, yes, you have the bookkeeping, the marketing, the this, that, and the other, but that business is generally a constant and consistent with what, say, a car dealership, or you're running a dentist office or something. It's going to be the same things happening every day, that you're marketing, administration, all that kind of stuff. Whereas with music, it's like, you could be getting on a plane, going to be singing, backing vocals here, or you might be just driving somewhere to go do sessions, set, or a wedding or what have you. And it's really interesting when referring to the starving artist mentality and selling out. Like, some of the up and comers in my area right here, like we're in Calgary, and there's oil and gas is a big thing. Like, there's a lot of up and coming songwriters who are like, well, here I go off to my 15 days on the rig, and then I'll be back and I'll be able to afford the flight to Nashville for my 10 days off or whatever. It's like, you know what, people are doing what they got to do to make it happen. And it's that, also the understanding of the flip side is, like, a number one hit doesn't mean you're set for life. Unless the business has been really, really well done.
Sure. Yeah. It's really hard to predict or forecast in this business. So that's really something to go in with, eyes wide open, understanding that there's not a formula, unfortunately, and it is, you can't walk into it saying, well, okay, being a professional singer means I'll make $45,000 a year. Not, right. Who knows, that really is up to you, and kind of how you pave that path in the different channels that you take. But, I like that you mentioned, having day job, working on the oil rig and everything like that. I really think that plays a part in this, because there are at times, during this kind of a career, where having a position unrelated to music is necessary. And I think as long as you can keep the mindset that I do this job, I walk in as a barista every day and make coffee because it affords me the ability to buy a ticket to Nashville, or buy my pay to play space at a venue, or buy the clothes I need to wear in my band, or buy the instruments that I need. It all plays its part. And there's I admire that, and I did it myself. I was in the corporate world for years, and I always thought of it that way, is that I'm not necessarily passionate about what I do here, in the cubicle, but I do know that it's serving me, and in the long run, it's serving, my desire to be a full-time musician.
Totally. And keeping that in mind too, the sometimes the most creative shows and the opportunities to showcase your talent are the ones where the least revenue is involved, whereas those corporate gigs are like, you know what? You might not be enjoying singing Walking on Sunshine and B-52s all day and all night, but that's going to also really, really contribute to your musical career for sure.
Yeah, it really is.
Oh, The Wedding Singer, the movie, really didn't do the industry too many favors because the reputation that came with that was like, oh no, can I really put that on my resume anymore?
I know. I know it is. It's so funny. You're right. It did. It kind of it really reinforced that that stereotype. And what's funny to me is that obviously the life of an indie artist, or someone who is out there with a major record deal, there's that's where like the glamour and all of
Yes,
that is
yes.
at, and that's awesome. I mean, I love it. Believe me, I think that's a beautiful life. But in reality, though, gigs that are a bit more, professional, doing cover stuff, doing corporate stuff, weddings and things, that's where the big money is at. And at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, it might not be your favorite material. It might not be fulfilling your soul, but if it's paying your bills, that's not a bad thing.
Yes.
And there's always room to be participating in your passion projects. Us as a band, of course, we play what the people want.
Right.
End of story. That's what pays the bills. But we all have our side gigs, projects that we love. We do passion projects together. So, we're all musically satisfied and kind of feeding our souls in that way, but we're also feeding our kids.
Right. And that's just it too. If you do have that number one hit song or whatever, you're still playing what people want to hear. Because after the end of a 20-year successful career, you're still like, oh, I gotta play that song again. Yeah. It all comes around. Oh my gosh, I'm like totally like, oh, this is all negative. You're just gonna hate your hit songs by the end of your career. No, you're gonna love your musical existence. Quit your day job, go have fun, do all the things.
Exactly.
But don't come to me if it doesn't work out.
Right.
It's like you said, it's the right mindset. You got to be brave. You've got to give it a shot. Like, set yourself up, get that side gig that's going to pay the bills and pay the kids and whatever you need. Be responsible. But I think if you're in a position where you can, there are many streams of revenue to be able to successfully, pay the bills and put food on the table for the family and still do what you love. So.
Yeah. And I think, we need to take complete ownership and responsibility for that. Is, not a lot of people are going to spoon feed you this information. And because the music industry is extremely competitive, and a lot of times people don't want to help one another out because of that scarcity mentality. They're afraid that if I tell you about these gigs, you're going to take all the gigs and I'm going to have none or less. And I do not like that. I don't like that way of life at all. I am a firm believer in, what's the saying? Rising tides lift all the ships, or, whatever that saying is.
That. But I like that.
I believe that there's work out there for everybody. Yeah. And the more we help one another out, the more that feeds into our own success and our, and our own opportunity. So, I consider it an honor and a privilege to dispense this, information out to as many singers as I can, because, I think we owe it to one another. We need to get back to more of that, mindset where, we're a community, let's help one another out. When you help others out, you're going to receive that in return. I really believe that.
And it's a great community. The more people supporting each other like this, there's just bringing better people into the community, which is and growing that is just, it's a beautiful thing. And this is a perfect segue to mention what's coming up real quick here, because I'm gonna release this at the time of all the promotion that's coming out. So talk about a bit more that's going on with the community that you're building.
Yes. So what we have coming up is this year's Singer Summit. This is the Unstoppable Singer Summit 2022. Yay. It's going to be live online May 23rd, 24th, and 25th. And what the Unstoppable Singer Summit is, it's a free 3-day virtual event for singers to break out of that starving artist mentality and learn what it takes to make a great living and build a lifelong career and stay relevant as a musician. And just, you'll be learning how to improve your craft, grow your fan base, and just, turn all these passions into profit. And you're going to be learning as of today, you're going to be learning from 35 top industry experts,
Yes!
including Emma, who I'm just so delighted and honored to have you on board as a speaker. But
Thank you.
the lineup of speakers this year is crazy great. Some of our keynote speakers are Stevie Mackey, Natalie Weiss, Yay. Ariel Hyatt, Hannah Bales, Emily Kristen Morris. And then we go a little bit deeper into the industry. We've got some incredible professionals talking to us about, sync licensing, home studio production, people like Chris Bradley. We have Adam Ivy with us. And we're going deep. I mean, we're going awesome. Into like what's it called? Getting your SAG card, things.
These are so necessary.
So necessary. Yes, so necessary. We're even going to be talking about things like managing your money. Nice. We're going to be talking about things about, how to manage your social media and marketing and what platforms to use, what's best for you, how to create that content, how to stay up on all of the different things that you have to do. So we have a touch point at so many pieces of the business. And, if you're even considering becoming a professional, and for sure, if you're already a professional, you've got to be there.
Yeah, there is no reason to miss this at all. Like, first of all, I love that it's live. It's not just a pre-recorded thing that's just going to go to your junk mail and you never actually look at it. It's live and interactive, and absolutely, it was so good last time. I absolutely loved it. And there's different elements, different price points to access it too, which is phenomenal. So tell us a bit about that, because that's what's magical about this too.
Yeah, I love that it's live too. I did it pre-recorded the first year, which was super cool. It was great. But then, I wanted to take the risk of doing it live, even though technically things can just go bad. But they didn't. Last year was so beautiful, and it really made it an energetic experience that we all really felt like we were together in doing something. So if at all possible, if you can be there live, I highly, highly recommend it. If you simply can't, like if it's not in your time zone or something like that, I try to keep it as accessible as possible. I keep all of the replays up 48 hours after they've aired for free. But if
pause
that doesn't
on that
work
for a second, for free. Hello, did you hear the lineup here?
Yes.
Like, we're talking like you get to experience live training from like these people. Like, for free.
Yeah, there's no strings attached to that at all, And in fact, along with just the free presentations, these speakers are throwing in tons of free resources for you to walk away with. And so if you can't meet that free time window, we are offering a paid upgrade, which is called the All Access Backstage Pass. And with that buys you unlimited lifetime access to all of the replays. So you can kind of pace it and take it, on your own time, sit down and maybe listen to one or two a day, or, binge them in a weekend, however that works best for you. And within that package, many of the speakers are also providing bonus mastermind groups, different like vocal sessions, different courses, and digital products that they offer that just are included with that. So when you go to the site to register for free, you get your free ticket, you're in, no strings attached to that. But that'll also it'll give you the details on the paid upgrade if you want to grab that at the time, which I highly recommend. I mean, it's a lot of information to take in at once. So if you can grab the pass, you might as well, because if you can just hang on to all of it, in the long run, then it's a great deal.
So cool. So cool. And like, Thank you so much for having me on that, and I'm so excited to be there. But thank you so much for putting this together, because like I said, there was a lot of stuff that kind of, you know, happened during the pandemic that was like people were putting things together and Zoom programs and online, everything obviously went online, and there was a lot of stuff, and it was the most memorable experience for me as a singer, and it was the most impactful one, and it was full of such valuable, tangible, usable information, that it was one of the summits that I've done over many of them, God knows how many over the years, that I was like, you know what, I've been waiting for the next one to come out. So thank you, because it's really, really good. And I'm not just saying that because this year I'm part of it, and everyone should go and be part of it too. But no, it really, really was. It was really fantastic. So I'm very, very excited.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for saying that. And that's exactly why I do it.
Yay!
Because just knowing that if it's making even the slightest difference in, you know, someone else's life is so worth it. And I love the work. I mean, I absolutely love doing this. So it really is just pure pleasure and joy for me, honestly.
Totally. And that's basically the summary of this whole conversation is make music your work, and your passion your work, and enjoy every day of doing it. So where is the best place for people to find you, follow you, learn more? I'll put all the links in the show notes for people to go check it out, but share with us how people can support you, learn more about the Unstoppable Singer Summit, and all these things.
Great. Yeah. So for sure, please use Emma's link to get to the summit, which I'm sure she'll include in the show notes. So Absolutely. Use her direct link so that I know you're coming from her audience. It's really important. I want to know everybody who is Emma fans and that she sent you. And outside of that, you can find me on Instagram at either not the Unstoppable Singer. So that handle is Unstoppable Singer, or you can find me personally at Danielle Tucker Singer. Or, you know, I have all of my info and all of my various links at danielletucker.com.
Perfect. Danielle, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. And I'm really excited to obviously we'll be chatting more, but thanks for everything. And I'm really glad we got to have this conversation.
Me too. Thank you, Emma.
The link is in the show notes for you to get your backstage pass for the Unstoppable Singer Summit. And I really, really hope to see you there. But do remember, you can get free access for a limited time as well. So May 23rd to 25th, come check it out. And also follow Rocket Vocal Studios on Instagram, and I'll be sharing lots about it there too. Thanks again, Danielle, for joining me. And maybe we'll see you at the Singer Summit. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to like, share, subscribe, and if you feel inclined to leave a review, I truly, truly appreciate it. You can check out all things voice at rocketvocalstudios.com. That's ROCKIT vocalstudios.com. And follow me on social too at Rocket Vocal Studios. Thanks again for listening, and I'll be back with lots more for you very, very soon.